I'm sorry, but James originally liked me. You're the one who took him away. So I'm just taking him back.
I'm sorry. I still love Victoria. A first love is always special.
My husband and sister defiantly went on their affair trip. During that time, my mom suddenly passed away in an accident. I didn't even have time to mourn my continuous misfortunes, as I had to deal with the mourners as the chief mourner.
We bought some fancy sweets for Emily.
Mom will love them for sure.
Then they came back, enjoying chatting and laughing. The funeral is about to start.
What?
With just that one word, their expressions changed. My name is Sarah, and I'm 27 years old. I live with my husband, James, who is 2 years older than me. My mom, Emily, and James's mom, Patricia, have been best friends since their school days. My mom has been a career woman, raising me and my sister Victoria, who is 2 years older than me, on her own after my dad passed away in a car accident. On the other hand, Patricia married a company president, Michael, and became a gentle stay-at-home mom. It's commonly said that women's friendships tend to fade due to changes in life stages. In that sense, it seemed like a miracle to me that their friendship lasted so long, even though they had known each other since school and became mothers around the same time.
How wonderful it would be if our kids got married someday.
Those two often talked about that ever since we were kids. They often had me, Victoria, and James play together when we were kids. Of course, they never forced us, and they intended to let us choose our romantic and marriage partners on our own. Still, kids can be very sensitive to their parents' hopes that things might turn out that way. Victoria and James were classmates, going through elementary, middle, and high school together, which made it even more apparent. Moreover, Victoria was beautiful, had a great figure, and was an excellent student, admired by all boys. James also had feelings for Victoria.
I hope James's love will come true.
Patricia also supported the two of them. On the other hand, Victoria completely rebelled against their parents' expectations. Besides, James, who wasn't very attractive, wasn't on her radar, and she treated him coldly. Furthermore, Victoria had someone else she liked. Victoria's feelings for that boy eventually bore fruit, while James was rejected and heartbroken. I was the one who comforted James during his slump. The truth is, I had always liked James, who had looked after me since we were little, and I was envious of Victoria. So, to say I didn't feel like I was getting a chance at that moment would be a lie. However, I genuinely wanted to cheer up my childhood friend. Anyway, that incident brought James and me closer together, and eventually, we fell in love and got married. My mom and Patricia cried tears of joy, blessing our marriage. Victoria also genuinely celebrated for us. At least at that time, it seemed that way. For several years after getting married, our married life was very happy. Marrying James, the son of a president and a strong candidate for the next president, made all my friends envy me. Since I had known Patricia since my childhood, there was no trouble with my mother-in-law.
Having a cute wife like you, Sarah, makes me want to work harder.
James also started working harder and got promoted. I worked in the same company, in a different department, and my abilities were highly appreciated. On the other hand, Victoria didn't seem very happy. She had several boyfriends since then, but none of the relationships worked out, and her last boyfriend broke up with her harshly. Victoria must have been envious of my happiness, especially seeing me with James, who had once admired her.
Sarah, you're so lucky. It's unfair that you're the only one who ended up happy. I was such a fool back then, even though I was a high school student. I didn't understand how important family background was at that time. If I could go back, I wouldn't have turned down James, the president's son. What a waste.
Victoria often complained to me.
Sarah, you must have known everything. You knew that catching James would secure your future. You're really something, aren't you?
Whenever Victoria said that, I would reply, "That's not true. Back then, I genuinely liked James. Even so, I thought we were close sisters. But at some point, James started acting noticeably strange. His suspicious behavior made me suspect he was cheating, which made me feel disgusted with myself. I confided in Victoria about James's suspected infidelity.
You're just imagining things. James isn't like that. As his childhood friend and classmate, I know him well. Sarah, you should know too. James loves only you. You have nothing to worry about. You need to trust him."
Thank you, Victoria. I felt genuinely grateful for Victoria's strong encouragement, but now I feel bitter thinking about it. However, my doubts didn't go away, so I eventually hired a detective to investigate James's infidelity. The results were damning. Moreover, the affair was with an unexpected person. The person was my sister, Victoria. Finding out that I had been betrayed by both of them nearly made me collapse in shock. I immediately confronted them. At first, they pretended to be innocent, but when I presented the evidence, they quickly admitted to their affair. To make matters worse, James had promised to divorce me and marry Victoria. Victoria, why? You blessed our marriage. How could you do something like this? Taking your sister's husband? Why would you do this? I protested tearfully to her, and instead of looking apologetic, she sniffed.
"I'm sorry, but James originally liked me. You're the one who took him away. So I'm just taking him back. He was mine to begin with. Actually, it was thanks to me that you were able to be with James and be happy. You should be grateful, not resentful. It's time for you to return that happiness to me."
No way, this can't be happening. You were the one who rejected James in the first place. And now you're doing this. James, how could you go after my sister Victoria? What were you thinking?
I'm sorry, Sarah. I still love Victoria. It's true that I loved you too, but when Victoria approached me, I couldn't resist. I thought my long-held love was coming true. For a man, a first love is special. Women might not understand that since it's said they overwrite their feelings.
I don't get it. I could never understand that.
See? In the end, James has always loved me. You were just a second choice because you're my sister. You misunderstood, thinking you won his heart after he was heartbroken.
I couldn't understand why. As the one betrayed by both James and Victoria, I had to hear such things. With great effort, I managed to say, "What do you think our mom and James's parents would say if they heard this?" Then they started laughing.
It'll be fine. Our moms always wanted their kids to marry each other. So whether it's you or me marrying James, it doesn't matter. Our mom supported me and James from the start.
Yeah, plus Victoria is prettier and smarter, making her more suitable as the president's wife. Our moms will be thrilled.
What are you talking about? There was no way our moms would be happy about Victoria and James getting together now. But these two were too caught up in their own excitement to hear anything I said. Victoria was always smart and did well in school. Can having an affair really lower people's common sense? I thought it was pointless to say anything more.
Goodbye, Sarah. We've planned a trip to Spain starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm staying at Victoria's place tonight. We'll start talking about our divorce when I get back.
With that, They left and didn't return. I cried all night. Moreover, misfortune seemed to come in waves. While I was agonizing over how to tell our moms about everything, my mom was seriously injured in a sudden car accident. I desperately tried to contact Victoria and James, but neither of them answered. They were probably blocking my calls to avoid being disturbed.
You don't need to call those two.
Patricia, who knew everything, tearfully stopped me, and I could only pray that my mom would recover. But my prayers went unanswered, and my mom passed away, joining my dad with me by her side. She was gone. I was more in shock than sadness, just completely numb. But there was no time to wallow in grief. With Victoria absent, I had to handle her funeral as the chief mourner. Perhaps it was for the best that Victoria wasn't there. I wouldn't let Victoria, of all people, be the one to see my mom off. I still tried to contact Victoria and James, but there was no response from them. I gave up trying to reach them and prioritized dealing with the funeral home and the attendees of the funeral. Naturally, Victoria and James were not present at the wake. Instead, James's parents, Michael and Patricia, were there, and Patricia cried the entire time. She kept apologizing to my mom and me through her tears.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, making you go through such double hardship, Sarah.
I could only shake my head, holding back my tears. Many of my mom's colleagues from her company also came to the wake. As a career woman, my mom was well liked and respected by many people at her company. Everyone was deeply saddened by her death. Just before the funeral, while I was dealing with the mourners as the chief mourner, Victoria and James finally returned and showed up at my parents' house.
Oh, Sarah, you're back at home too. We're back. Spain was amazing.
We bought some fancy sweets for Emily.
Mom will love them for sure.
We need her and my parents to happily accept our remarriage.
Their flashy clothes and carefree smiles, clearly showing they had just returned from a trip, irritated me deeply.
What's wrong? You look really pale, Sarah. Well, I guess that's understandable. We brought you a souvenir, so cheer up. I'll treat you to coffee at the cafe near the station. Let's go now, okay?
I answered Victoria's carefree tone with a low voice, feeling deeply irritated. I can't. The funeral is about to start.
What? Funeral?
Victoria and James still didn't seem to understand, looking puzzled.
By the way, you're wearing mourning clothes. Did someone die?
Could it be someone we know?
It's Mom.
What?
The person who died is our mom. At those words, Victoria and James turned pale and dropped their souvenirs.
No way, you're kidding, right? Mom was so healthy just the other day.
Yeah, how could she be dead?
It was a sudden car accident. I was with her at the end. The wake is already over. So many people came to cry for her.
Is this real? Why didn't you tell me? Even if I took James from you, it's terrible not to inform me about Mom's death.
Victoria's words made me snap. I tried to tell you. I called both you and James many times, but there was no response at all.
That's because we did get a lot of calls, but we thought they were just complaints about the affair. We blocked your number to avoid being bothered by you.
How can you say it's understandable?
There must have been other ways to get in touch. Why didn't you let us know?
I stopped her from doing so.
Patricia appeared.
Mom.
Sure, I could have contacted you myself, but I didn't want you, a couple who betrayed your own sister, to taint Emily's death. Emily also said she didn't want you to come.
What? Mom said that?
Victoria, you and James told all sorts of lies about me to Mom and Patricia, didn't you? That I was cheating, that I had a spending problem, and that's why we were getting divorced. That you were comforting James, who was suffering because of me, or something. You tried to make them think poorly of me to get them to approve your remarriage. You even claimed that you had always liked James but acted cold on purpose because you knew about my feelings for him. How shameless.
Yes, you sent us all sorts of messages. Neither Emily nor I believed any of it. Because Sarah isn't like that at all. In fact, thanks to you, we were able to confirm our suspicions about your relationship. Sarah showed me proof of your infidelity too. Victoria, how could you tell such blatant lies? It was obvious to anyone that you didn't care about James back then. You never stepped aside for Sarah's sake. Someone like that would never have an affair.
I couldn't bring myself to tell Mom and Patricia about Victoria and James's affair. That's because I didn't want to hurt them. However, through the messages from Victoria and James, they already knew. Then, before she passed away, Mom called me and revealed that she and Patricia had figured out Victoria and James's affair from Victoria's messages.
It's okay. Both Patricia and I know that Victoria is lying.
Mom said this with a smile, reassuring me as I denied the content of the messages. Then, on her deathbed, she left a will.
I leave all my inheritance to Sarah. Victoria will not get a single cent.
No.
When I conveyed the will, Victoria cried out. To me, it seemed she was more shocked by this than by Mom's death.
Of course, as a mother, I wouldn't leave a cent to a daughter who takes her sister's husband and lies to ruin her reputation. James, this goes for you too. Michael has decided to remove you from the list of candidates for the next president after finding out about your affair.
No, this can't be true.
Neither Michael nor I can forgive someone who goes after your wife's sister and tries to ruin Sarah's life. We must have raised you wrong.
But, Mom, you used to say you hoped Victoria and I would work out.
That was when you were high school kids, not even dating. Now you are married to Sarah. It's completely different. How can you not understand that? Anyway, we have Emily's funeral to attend, so we don't have time for this.
Wait, we want to attend too.
Victoria and James tried to follow me. What? You're not planning to attend the funeral dressed like that, are you? I stared at their outfits. Their flashy shirts were entirely inappropriate for a funeral.
Of course we're going to change. Where's the mourning clothes?
Though they said this, it was clear they had only just thought about changing because I mentioned it. There's no time. As the chief mourner, I have to go now. And even if you change, I'm not letting you attend.
Me neither. As I said before, I don't want a couple who betrayed their family in the worst way to taint Emily's death.
This is ridiculous. I'm her real daughter. How can I not attend my own mother's funeral? In fact, I should be the chief mourner. You've been handling everything while we were on our trip. You must be exhausted. The eldest daughter should be the one to do it. I can't just do nothing, so let me be the one to see Mom off.
I was really close to Emily too. As her son-in-law, I want to see her off. Let us at least attend the funeral.
Patricia gave them a cold look as they desperately pleaded.
Emily said she no longer considers you her daughter or her son-in-law. You don't need to do anything, so why don't you two go back to enjoying your affair vacation?
Turning our backs on the stunned pair, we headed to the funeral. I asked the security to turn Victoria and James away if they showed up, and the funeral proceeded smoothly. Apparently, they did come, but the security turned them away as instructed. After that, James was not only removed from the list of candidates for the next president, but he was also fired. Apparently, it was discovered that he had been embezzling company funds. It seems that, thrilled by Victoria's advances, James had been buying her expensive brand goods as she asked, using embezzled funds. The trip to Spain was also funded by the embezzled money. I had been wondering why Victoria had suddenly started wearing a lot of brand name bags and clothes even before the affair was discovered, and now it made sense. James's parents severed ties with him and demanded he repay the embezzled funds instead of reporting him to the police.
I thought it was fine since it's the company I'd eventually inherit.
James reportedly argued that, but of course, such an excuse was unacceptable. Naturally, I divorced James and cut ties with Victoria as well.
Please forgive me. I'll break up with Victoria. I realize now that I only love you.
James pleaded, but I firmly rejected him. Because it seemed to me he was only trying to reconcile to gain his parents' forgiveness.
With all the money I owe for the embezzlement, I can't afford this.
James reportedly shouted through the lawyer Michael had arranged when I sued them for compensation, but it wasn't my concern. Victoria was even more persistent than James.
But we're sisters, right? We lost our parents, and now it's just the two of us. Please don't sue for compensation. I will get back James to you. I know I did a terrible thing to you, and I'm sorry. I'll apologize as many times as it takes. I'm truly sorry. Just like when we lost Dad, let's support each other. We're the only family we have left. Even if we say we're cutting ties, our blood connection can't be erased. If we continue to fight like this, Dad and Mom would be so sad. If Mom were alive, she would have forgiven us. We used to be such close sisters, right? It's heartbreaking to be estranged over this. As your big sister, I just want to support you in your difficult times.
Victoria's whiny, tearful voice as she clung to me only made me more irritated. When we were in elementary school, our dad died in a car accident. I realized sadly that the responsible and intelligent Victoria, who supported and comforted me as I cried back then, was gone.
It's true, I did something terrible to you, Sarah. Something unforgivable. But I've always helped you as your big sister, right? So we're even, aren't we? That's what family does. We forgive each other and move on. I'm lonely and hurting, Sarah.
Victoria continued to plead in a whiny voice. Believing she would marry James, Victoria had quit the job she had always complained about being tough, and now she was likely in serious financial trouble. It seemed she had sold most of the brand goods James had bought her. Victoria must have been envious of me inheriting all of Mom's estate and receiving the compensation for the fatal accident, wanting to benefit from it too. Although Victoria should have the right to claim, the accident was a tragic one where the driver swerved to avoid a child who had run into the street, ending up on the sidewalk and hitting my mom. Even though the driver was also seriously injured, he paid compensation far above the usual amount. Still, nothing would bring Mom back. All I could do was hope she was happy with Dad in the afterlife. I didn't want Victoria to disrupt my attempt to make peace with that. James's parents said they would adopt me since I have no parents. They think my work is better than James. They want me to eventually take over the company. They've known me since I was little and always thought of me as a daughter. My family now consists of just those two. They've been more than supportive. So you're not family to me anymore. And I don't need your support. You're not a support. You're a burden, a curse. At this, Victoria started screaming hysterically.
What? Why do you always get all the good things? You take the best and end up happy. James' parents are awful. I've known them since I was little too. They used to dote on me. I'm the eldest daughter. I'm grieving Mom's death too, but unlike you, no one is comforting me. Instead, everyone is blaming and pressuring me. It's not fair. Why?
Shut up. If you keep causing a scene in front of my house, I'll call the police. Why don't you ask James to comfort you? When I coldly said this, Victoria muttered something under her breath, but eventually slunk away. Later, Victoria claimed Mom's death compensation and received more than the standard amount. But half of them disappeared into my compensation.
I know Victoria embezzled company funds too, so she has a duty to repay. I'll use this for the repayment.
The rest was almost entirely taken by James, partly by force, leaving Victoria with nearly nothing. This led to a big fight between Victoria and James.
I'm grieving Mom's death, and instead of comforting me, you take my money. It's terrible. No one is there for me.
Shut up. It's your fault for tempting me. Because of you, I was removed from the list of candidates for the next president and got fired from the company. There's no way I'm going to be kind to a curse like you.
A curse? You think of me that way too. If you ask me, you're the curse. Stop blaming others. Are you saying it's not your fault for giving in to my temptation?
Yeah, it's not my fault. My instincts as a man were provoked, so it's only natural. If I'm a curse, then what does that make you, the one who tempted me?
What a selfish excuse. That doesn't make any sense. You were the one who first fell for me, even though you now call me a curse.
What an absurd fight. From my perspective, they were both equally at fault. Naturally, it seemed they would break up, but then Victoria's pregnancy was discovered. The father could only be James. James and Victoria, thinking that the baby's presence would soften the feelings of me, Michael, and Patricia, decided not to break up and instead remarried to have the baby. However, when they informed us of the pregnancy, neither I nor James's parents responded. Eventually, the baby was born, and when they came to visit us with the baby in their arms, we still weren't swayed and turned them away.
This child is your grandchild. Look at your adorable grandchild's face. Once you see her, you'll change your mind.
I told you that you're no longer our son. Therefore, that child is not our grandchild or anything else.
Michael and Patricia said this as they turned them away.
This child is your blood-related, adorable niece. Just look at her. Let's make up.
Victoria pleaded, but I ignored her.
This child is a girl, and she might be Mom's reincarnation. We could name her Emily after Mom.
The moment Victoria tearfully said this, I saw red. Don't be ridiculous. I will never allow that. Mom would never come back to you too. I yelled, driving Victoria and James away. In the end, they gave up on reconciling with us and are raising the baby on their own. The child is innocent, so I hope she finds happiness somewhere far away. And I hope they work hard for her sake, to repay the kindness of Michael and Patricia, and to forget my sorrow. I threw myself even more into my work. As a result, my performance improved significantly, and I was promoted. It seems I inherited the blood of my career woman mom. Eventually, when Michael stepped down as the president, I became the female president. As the president, I improved the company's performance and expanded our business significantly. My management skills became a topic of discussion, and I was interviewed by a magazine which published the story. In the interview, I talked about how my ex-husband was once taken by my sister. Many people sent messages of support for my success as president despite that adversity. Later, I remarried the young president of a client company. He had pursued me enthusiastically. Because of the trauma from James and Victoria's betrayal, it took me a long time to remarry, but he accepted all of my past traumas and waited for me to make up my mind. Michael and Patricia were genuinely happy about my remarriage. I'm sure my mom is also happy in heaven with my dad. My current husband is incomparable to James, being far more sincere and devoted. Soon, my company and my husband's company will merge, and we plan to manage it together as a couple. I hope my parents will continue to watch over us from heaven